Jnana vijnana sambhavam Atmanan yona buddhyeta Na kvachik kshemanapnujat Ladveha manusinjonim Jnana vijnana sambhavam Atmanam yona buddhyeta Na kvachik kshemanapnujat. Anyone would like? Ladveha manusinjonim Jnana vijnana sambhavam Atmano yona buddhyeta Na kvachik kshemanapnujat. Ladveha manusinjonim Jnana vijnana sambhavam Atmanan yona buddhyeta Na kvachik kshemanapnujat. Ladveha manusinjonim Jnana vijnana sambhavam Atmanan yona buddhyeta Na kvachik kshemanapnujat. Ladveha manusinjonim Jnana vijnana sambhavam Atmanam yona buddhyeta Na kvachik kshemanapnujat. Ladveha manusinjonim Jnana vijnana sambhavam Atmanan yona buddhyeta Na kvachik kshemanapnujat. Ladveha manusinjonim Jnana vijnana sambhavam Atmanan yona buddhyeta Na kvachik kshemanapnujat. Thank you. So translation word by word. Ladva achieving Iha in this material world, especially in this pious land of Bharatavarsha, India. Manusin, the human, Jonim, species, Jnana, of knowledge through Vedic scriptures, Vijnana, and practical application of that knowledge in life, Sambhavam, wherein there is a possibility, Atmanam, one's real identity, Ja, anyone who, Na, not, Buddhyeta, understands, Na, never, Kvachit, at any time, Ksheman, success in life, Apnuyat, can obtain. Translation. A human being can attain perfection in life by self-realization through the Vedic literature and its practical application. This is possible only for a human being born in India, the land of piety. A man who obtains birth in such a convenient position but does not understand his self is unable to achieve the highest perfection, even if he is exalted to live in the higher planetary systems. Purport. This statement is confirmed in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi 941. Lord Chaitanya says, Bharata bhumite haila manusi jammajara jamma sarata harikari kari para upakara. Everyone born in India, especially as a human being, can achieve the supreme success through the Vedic literature and its practical application in life. When one is perfect, he can render a service for the self-realization of the entire human society. This is the best way to perform humanitarian work. So we continue with text 59. If you allow me, I'll read only the translations. Remembering the great trouble found in the field of activities performed for fruited results, and remembering how one received the reverse of the results one desires, whether from material actions or from fruitive activities recommended in the Vedic literature, an intelligent man should cease from desiring from fruitive actions. For by such endeavor, one cannot achieve the ultimate goal of life. On the other hand, if one acts without desires for fruitive results, in other words, if one engages in devotional activities, he can achieve the highest goal of life with freedom from miserable conditions. Considering this, one should cease from material desires. Text 60. As husband and wife, a man and woman, plan together to attain happiness and decrease unhappiness, working jointly in many ways, but because their activities are full of desires, these activities are never a source of happiness. May I repeat this part? Because their activities is full of desires, their activities are never a source of happiness, and they never diminish distress. On contrary, they are a cause of great unhappiness. Text 61 and 62. Translation. One should understand that the activities of persons who are proud of their material experience bring only results contradictory to those such persons conceive while awake, sleeping, and deep sleeping. One should further understand that the spiritual soul, although very difficult for the materialistic to perceive, is above of these conditions, and by the strength of one discrimination, one should give up the desire for fruitive results in the present life and in the next, thus becoming experienced in transcendental knowledge. One should become my devotee. Text 63. Persons who try to reach the ultimate goal of life must expertly observe the Supreme Absolute Person and the living entity, who are one in quality in their relationship as part and whole. This is the ultimate understanding of life. There is no better truth than this. Should I repeat this part? It's very important. Persons who try to reach the ultimate goal of life must expertly observe the Supreme Absolute Person and the living entity, who are one in quality in their relationship as part and whole. This is the ultimate understanding of life. There is no better truth than this. Text 64. O king, if you accept this conclusion of mine, being unattached to material enjoyment, adhering to me with great faith, and thus becoming proficient in fully aware of knowledge and its practical application in life, you will achieve the highest perfection by attaining me. Another repetition, I think. O king, if you accept this conclusion of mine, being unattached to material enjoyment, adhering to me with great faith, and thus becoming proficient and fully aware of knowledge and its practical application in life, you will achieve the highest perfection by obtaining me. The last text. Sri Sukadeva Goswami continued, after thus instructing Chitraketu and assuring him of perfection in this way, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the Supreme Spiritual Master, the Supreme Soul, Sankarshan, disappeared from that place as Chitraketu looked on. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purpose of the 6th canto, 16th chapter of the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, entitled King Chitraketu Meets the Supreme Lord. So from tomorrow onwards, text chapter 17. Onangyanati mirandasya gyanan gyanashalahakaja chakshulumitanjena tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Mukhaṁ karoti vachalam phangum langajate girim Jat kripatamaham vande Sri Guru Dinacharinam. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Śrīmate Bhaktivedanta Swami iti namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Sunjavadi Paschatya Desataharine. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Śrīmate Shila Hanuma Prasaka Swami iti namine. Panchakalpa Taruvyascha Kripa Sindhuvya Evacha Patitanam Pavanevyo Vaishnavevyo Namo Namaha. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Thank you again for being here. So this is the last part of this interesting chapter. We, as probably most of you have been in the class and following the thread of this part, it's after Chitraketu receiving instructions from his spiritual masters, especially Narada Muni, he engaged for 7 days in a very strict process, sadhana bhakti, that was performed in a very successful way because he achieved the goal, meeting the Lord. But the idea is that by the instruction of the spiritual master, following an authorized process, we have the guarantee to achieve the goal. So in that way, for example, Sankarshan of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, in the form of Sankarshan, himself appeared in front of in front of Chitraketu Maharaj, and corroborate the teachings of what Narada Muni and Angira Muni they were trying to convey to Chitraketu, and also for the enlightenment of all of us. So Krishna himself, in this case, through 11 texts, Sankarshan summarized all this knowledge in the beginning, establishing who is him and who we are, how this all creation takes place as part of his energy. It's important for us to understand that what is our real identity. We are part and parcel of Krishna's. We are his energy, as well as all the material nature. Because we have the tendency in our conditioned state, because forgetfulness of real nature, the real knowledge, in that conditioned state, we have the tendency to try to enjoy the material nature and create those false concepts and identities, thinking that we can control and we can be owners of something. So Krishna himself established this principle. Well, you are wrong with that understanding, because you, as a living entity, and all the matter, all the nature, are all my energy. So he established this principle. So all belongs to me. I'm the creator of everything, even of yourself. So Krishna established that point, and also helping to understand what is our nature, actually. As Krishna's energy, we share the same quality as spiritual souls. So that Krishna, Sankarshan explained, for example, what is what we share, what makes us the same quality of the Lord. Do you remember that part when it was a beautiful lecture of Hanuman Prabhu on Monday, if I'm not wrong, that he explained that point? I personally found quite interesting and very insightful. That's one quality that make us, also one characteristic that make us same with the Lord, that help us, that is the experience that we have, each one of us. Do you remember that part? No? No, it's consciousness. That is that aspect of being conscious that make us part of the Brahman, because as an energy of the Lord, we are Brahman, Krishna's energy. And that quality that we share is consciousness. But because we are just a small part of the Lord, a small fraction, that consciousness is limited to its minimum compared to the supreme consciousness that Krishna has as the supreme soul. So that is important differentiation that we need to have clear in mind. We share the same quality, but we are not equal in everything. So we share the quality of being eternal, being part and parcel of Krishna. We share eternity, happiness, and knowledge that is part of our intrinsic nature. So that is, but again, as a minimal or a small particle that is different compared to the source of the ocean or the unlimited quantity manifested in Krishna as a source of everything. For example, Prabhupada in those purposes, in those texts, was quite emphatic for, I would say, pointing out for our understanding that we must be careful when we talk about this point and always remember we share the same nature of the Lord, but as a quality, our quality is the same nature of the Lord, but no quantity. A lot of other philosophical, I would say, traditions or religions sometimes, they have this misconception about, we are part of the Lord, so we are one with God. So, but that oneness doesn't have that differentiation in quantity. And that is, Prabhupada emphatically said, it's Mayavadi, that this is a wrong misunderstanding. It's a misunderstanding, it's a big wrong understanding about the reality. So we have to be clear with that point. Because also understanding that Krishna, by creating the living entities and the nature, so that is that the manifestation of his energies, and Krishna and his energies are not different. So from that point of view, there is a distortion from a philosophical point of view. If Krishna and his energies are not different, so we can worship everything in nature because it's Krishna as well. In one sense, it's true, but also we need to understand that it's not equal or it's not authorized process the same way when we worship, for example, the personification, the personality of God in his Bhagavan form. So that is also a very subtle aspect that we need to be aware of and clear in our understanding, especially in our spiritual practices. And we can encounter sometimes people or spiritual practitioners from other traditions that they have this kind of understanding and can be confusing. But we need to, yes, as we mentioned, and Prabhupada again, very emphatically, Krishna manifests himself in different ways, but doesn't mean that all the ways are the same. So that is quite important. It's not the same if we worship, for example, if we acknowledge the presence of Krishna in the nature when we worship the deity form of the Lord. So it's not the same. So that point is clear. Those are part of the instructions that Sankarshan was emphasizing and teaching, corroborating what actually Narada Muni taught to Chitraketu, and Chitraketu expressed in his prayers. So the next point also was about the important, or what is the idea about the real position of the living entity in relationship with the Lord, and why we become conditioned. Why is, for example, that we are not experiencing our real nature? Because, as we said before, intrinsically our nature is full of bliss and knowledge and eternity, but most of us in our conditioned state, we don't experience that in full. No, it's opposite, because our tendency is different. It's said that everything begins when we think that we are independent, separated from the Lord. When we think that, when we start thinking in that way, then our material conditional life starts. Because consequently, thinking that I'm independent of the Lord, so I can enjoy independently from the Lord and trying to endeavor to use the energy of the Lord for my sense gratification. But actually it's said that self-motivated activities only generate our distress. So it's not happiness at all. That's quite important. When I read that, I said, wow, that is quite strong, because most of us, well, at least in my case, my immediate tendency is try to do things that I'll enjoy, I'll try to be happy, but my self-motivate activity. And so Prabhupada says, self-motivate activity awards only distress, misery, that's the word that he used, award misery. And of course, on contrary to that, when we engage ourselves in activities that are free from fruitive results, more devotional activities, devotion to try to please the Lord, so that will generate on us or give us the opportunity to get the goal of life and free from miseries, freedom from miseries. Well, that is quite interesting point. I thought, wow, it's important for us to understand this, because I guess, like me, most of us, we have that tendency to try to do things that will generate us some kind of satisfaction, self-motivated activities. So, but the best way is, as we mentioned, and repeatedly previous classes, we were hearing constantly that the best way is trying to act in a way that we can search or focus how to please Krishna. And it's the only way how we can change that tendency from us. Somehow or another, by Krishna's mercy, devotee's mercy, we are here in contact to, or exposed to this spiritual knowledge, to Vedic literature. So we have the benefit of that information, that knowledge. So the idea is now to apply this. No, here in this text, specifically in 58, text said knowledge and its application. Quite important point. It's not just theoretical knowledge that we are now exposed, reading Bhagavatam. We should not remain just at that level. It has to be applied, become vijnana. And the way how we can do is trying consciously endeavor in be engaged in activities that will please Krishna, with that motivation, how I can please Krishna. But also, it's not like something that, okay, I'll do whatever I think that is that will please Krishna. Also, is regulated. There are regulations that help us to understand what please Krishna the most. And in this text, it's very important in explaining what can be the most pleasing thing for the Lord. Do you remember that aspect of this text that we were reading? It's that knowledge, when we practice, that is the best way that we can achieve the goal of life, and that is the best contribution to the humanity, because by applying this knowledge, naturally we will share it with others. And that's the best humanitarian activity that we can do. And not just because we help others to awaken their spiritual consciousness, because it's the most pleasing thing for Krishna. We understand that point? Yes? Yeah, that connection. So it's important for us also to try to direct the quality of our activities based on those principles. And that is the basis of Bhakti Yoga, actually. What else we can see in this chapter? Yeah, the goal of life, and every endeavor that is self-motivated, even the relationships, like in the text 60 and 62, 61 and 62, that when we try to establish our relationship with other living entities of family life, or the relationship with women, between men and women, based on just self-motivated interest, is definitely a source of misery and no happiness. That's what the point that emphasize Sankarshan, and also at the end, the important point is the surrender to the will of the Lord by rendering or being engaged in devotional service, understanding that that is your constitutional position. You are part of the whole. If you are not connected in your identity, if you are not acting based in your identity, always will be insatisfaction. Our identity and natural propensity is service. But service in relation to what? In relation to Krishna, yes. That is because that is our real constitution. And we are part of the whole. if we are not connected to the whole, always would be insatisfaction and suffering. And so that is natural service, but to Krishna in a favorable and authorized way. So I thought, for example, I was listening one lecture I consider quite insightful. If you can you have time, please, if you can listen to recently God's sannyas initiation is Swami Bhagavan Maharaj. It's in his class as a Sutapa Prabhu, that was his brahmachari name. He gave one class about what can help us to attain a happy life in Krishna consciousness, a successful life in Krishna consciousness. He kind of summarized 5 points how we can foster the success in our practice. Because now we are talking about trying to dovetail the quality of our activities in devotional service, trying to please Krishna. So how we can do this in a holistic way, 5 factors as a practicing devotees that we can try to consider and apply in our life. So I'll summarize those points, but I invite you please to listen to that lecture to get more insights, perhaps more, I would say, inspiration, knowledge. And the simplification that I'm trying to do is it doesn't make justice to what he presented. But it's my humble attempt to share with you what I understood. Well, those 5 points is that first we should try to cultivate or maintain, try to maintain ourselves spiritually inspired. What that means is that all of us, as a practicing devotees, we receive information and knowledge about the different rules and regulations that favor our devotional practice. And we talk about the Panchanga Bhaktis. Probably you remember those Panchanga Bhaktis. There are 64 regulations how we can practice devotional service and the nectar of devotion. But 5 of them, the main ones, is that we should, for example, chant Hare Krishna, deity worship, association of devotees, reading Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, and recite in the Holy Land. Yeah, those Panchanga Bhakti. If we practice these activities, but with the intention that I'll try to do my best in every day of this, my experience, that will create in us the inspiration that we need for eventually achieving the goal of life. So we need to maintain ourselves spiritually inspired, because practicing Krishna consciousness is not easy. If we talk seriously about it, if we are realistic, because in our conditioned state we have many difficulties and troubles. But by being inspired in what we are doing, if I'm very focused or trying to endeavor in my chanting or studying, that will awaken in us the taste for the process. And that will weight more than the difficulties that we experience, and will keep us going in this in the practice, in this process. Another point that he mentioned is that we need to cultivate or maintain ourselves emotionally connected. What that means is we need to cultivate real friendship among devotees. Friends that will help us to continue, support us in our practice. And there are some parameters to see who can be our friends. For example, like-minded devotees. Not everybody is the same, have the same interest, but if we cultivate friendship with like-minded devotees and based on trust and love, naturally we help each other to maintain our spiritual practice. So if we endeavor or try to cultivate the quality of our interaction among devotees, basically, because we all, the idea in Krishna consciousness, we are friendly with everybody. We're friends of everybody. The idea, that's the idea. But at the same time, it shouldn't be a superficial interaction. We need to be more mindful about the quality of our interaction among devotees. So based on who knows me, who can love me and trust, so I know that person will help me in my spiritual practice. So there's some points that we need to practice, but basically be mindful about it. And the other aspect is psychophysically situated. That's another point that we need to be aware when, for example, it's more related based on our varna and ashram. If we are properly situated, so naturally we will have the strength or the facilities for us to face the difficulties. Otherwise, it's very difficult. And also Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, well, we know that there are two verses in Bhagavad Gita they repeat twice. One of the verses is Madmanao Mamama Bhaktor. Krishna repeats twice in Bhagavad Gita to emphasize the point, become my devotee. So, but the another text that is repeated twice is also do your karma, do your prescribed duties according to your nature. Krishna repeats it twice. That is in text 335 and 1847. Twice the same text. So it's emphasizing the importance to understand what is our nature and how we can then, based on that and those qualities that we have inherited in this Swadharma, we can serve better and practice our process. And the another aspect is we need to maintain internally committed. I found this very important because internally committed is more related to, in this Prabhupada's movement, Prabhupada's mission, each one of us can find a specific mission, a small personal mission that can help us and motivate us to do our best. For example, it can be deity worship, can be book distribution, or serving prasadam, a specific service that you are committed to do it. Whatever, anything happen, but you are committed and taking responsibility as you taking part in the mission of Srila Prabhupada. Because it said that there is one nice statement that said, the best alarm clock in life is purpose. Because we can have different alarm clocks that can help us to awake ourselves because we are asleep and force us to wake, to get up and things like that. But the best alarm clock is purpose. If you have purpose in life, but you committed to that, no matter what happens, if you are sleepy, hungry, whatever, you will be able to force yourself to do it because you are committed to that purpose. And it's that very important aspect that if we are mindful or take active aspect in this Prabhupada's mission, finding our mission in Prabhupada's mission and make that our dear, most precious purpose, that will give also motivation for us to keep going in this spiritual practice. And the last one is practically balance. So we need to balance our life. Because it's, as Krishna in Bhagavad Gita says, who is regulated can have success. Because if we eat more, or we eat less, or we sleep more, or sleep less. So if there is no balance in our practical activities, so we will struggle. We will suffer, our health will be compromised, mental or physical. So we need to keep also balance. It's very important, those points too. So these are the points that I consider that quite important for us to understand, that we practice every day, but if we are more mindful of the importance of these activities, of these principles, and how we can implement in our life refine this practice, it will help us to achieve the goal of life, develop proper consciousness, and eventually awaken that prema love for God. So that is in brief what I wanted to share, but a very short thing that I wanted also to mention, but if you allow me, we have 5 more minutes perhaps. It's just a beautiful pastime because we are starting from Monday onward, last Monday onwards, Kartik month. Pardon me, bro? Kartik, and so thank you so much, Mahatma Prabhu, when he saw me say, Happy Kartik, and so I took it as a blessing, thank you, Prabhu. So I wanted to share one pastime that in Prabhupada among of many gifts that Prabhupada gave us is the experience of the Holy Dham, Vrindavan. And in 1972, for first time, Prabhupada took his disciples to Vrindavan to do Brayamandal Parikram, to experience the glories of the Holy Dham. Prabhupada himself with devotees were doing every day visiting places, special places in Braya, in Vrindavan, and Prabhupada narrating the pastimes of each place. And one day they went to one place called Brahmandagat. I don't know, have you been there in Vrindavan? Yeah, Mataji been there, Brahmandagat. Have you been there, Prabhu? Brahmandagat. It said that is the place where Krishna ate dirt. He ate dirt. And so Krishna, as you know, Krishna and Balaram and the cowherd boys are all kids and littles and doing a lot of mischievous things. And when they were playing, Krishna suddenly, he isolated himself in one specific, a little bit far place, and he ate dirt. And the cowherd boys saw him doing it and said, they were, oh no, Krishna did that. And immediately they went to Balaram and they told him, oh, Krishna ate dirt. And they were kind of furious why Krishna ate dirt. So Balaram said, oh, Krishna ate dirt, so I have to talk with, I have to tell to Yasodamai. And it's part of the song that we sing today, during Kartik month. But Balaram went to told Krishna to Yasodamai because he was kind of upset, because he said, well, Krishna came to liberate, free the earth from all the heavy impious activities of people doing it. So Krishna thinks that because he ate a little piece of earth, so he's just doing his job. That is not fair. So Balaram was upset and he said, no, that's not fair. So I have to tell to Yasodamai. So when Balaram told to Yasodamai about it, and Yasodamai, out of desperation and also upset, she went to Krishna and said, Krishna, why you ate this earth? It's just not proper. Why? That's true. And Krishna said, his understanding is different. He said, no, I didn't eat. They are just telling that they are lying because I won all the fight, all the wrestling things, so now they are back to me. They are saying that it's not true, it's not true. That was his perspective. But some Acharya said that actually Krishna ate dirt because he wanted to cure himself. And cure for what? Because daily he eats a lot of butter, yogurt, milk sweets. So that created indigestion. So Krishna wanted to cure himself, and so for that reason he ate that dirt. But other acharyas said, no, really, Krishna ate dirt because he wanted to clean his body because he drank not long ago a very strong poison from Putana, equal to the poison coming from the churning of the ocean, the Kalahala poison. So Krishna drank that from Putana, so Krishna wanted to clean his body, cure from that poison. For that reason he ate dirt, because dirt is purifying. So other acharyas say, no, Krishna didn't want to cure. He didn't eat earth because he wanted to cure himself. Because Krishna ate earth because he wanted to equip himself. Because Krishna knew that after some time he will go to Dwarka to do other kinship activities, so he needs raya, he needs power to do that. And the best way to equip himself is to eat braya raja. So for that reason he ate dirt. Other acharyas said, no, Krishna didn't eat earth because he wants to cure or he wants to equip himself. He wants to purify himself. Why? Because Krishna constantly is telling lies. So the best way to purify yourself is drinking some achamana or eat with dirt. So it's purifying. So Krishna wanted to purify himself for telling many lies. Other acharyas say, no, it's not because he wants to purify himself or to cure himself or to equip himself. It's because he wants to get blessed. Because by eating dirt from Braja, he can take all the dust of all the devotees, the gopis, the advanced devotees who walked in Braja. So by eating that, he can get the blessings. So Krishna wanted that. So as you see, so all the different explanations the acharyas are talking about why Krishna ate dirt. But all in actually are transcendental selfish interest. But other acharyas say, no, he has another transcendental selfless interest. He ate dirt because, according to Shastras, it is said that if Krishna is satisfied, everybody is satisfied. But eating a little bit of dirt, he will be satisfied and the whole universe is satisfied. So Krishna, based on that, he ate dirt. So different reasons why Krishna ate that or performed that pastimes, or acharyas that creating that the intrinsic and very beautiful and loving interactions that Krishna has. But at the end, he said that when Mother Yasoda was talking with Krishna, said, "You should not eat dirt." And Krishna said, "No, I'm telling you the truth. If you don't believe me, okay, I open your eyes and I'll open my mouth." And then at that moment, Yasoda might say, "Okay, yes, I'll do it." But by doing it, she got suddenly the view of the whole universe as we know the pastime, the whole universe depicted in the mouth of Krishna, and she at that moment realized, perhaps whatever I'm thinking that Krishna is my son, Nanda Maharaj my husband, or all this is not true. I'm in illusion. Perhaps Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead, the creator of everything. Perhaps it's that. So suddenly she got that revelation, and then the Acharya said, especially Vyasadeva, write another text when he said, immediately, because of her love towards Krishna, her love was so powerful that covered immediately that understanding and said, no, Krishna is my son. And because of out of love, she immediately regained that consciousness, no, Krishna is my son, and I have to protect him. So that is the pastime that somehow or another during Kartik month we also try to remember the sweetness and the interactions that Krishna has with his devotees, that with the purpose to attract our mind and get by us hearing about this, awaken that love for Krishna that is dormant in our heart. Well, sorry I didn't make justice to this, but trying to be quick. Thank you for your listening. Any comment, any questions? Time to go to take prasad? Time to go to work? Yeah. Okay. If you don't have any comment and questions, we leave here. Grantaraj Śrīmad Bhāgavatam ki, Jai Śrīla Prabhupada ki, Jai Vanchakalpatarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhubhyacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavi